Men's soccer showcased an MVP-type season this year, but lost their spark when it came down to the final game in the MAC tournament. What was the cause for this loss? Men's lacrosse has been on their A game as they are on a 3-game winning streak, and we break down the top and most underrated sports this year. All this and more on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome back to Studio 125. I'm your host, Hannah Smith. And boy, is everyone in for a treat tonight. Alongside me, I have two of Q30's most loved people. Not only is one of them a fellow producer of Bobcat Breakdown with me, and not only is one of them sports director of Q30, but they are two of the biggest baseball junkies you will find, and best friends, Liz Flynn and Jacob Resnick.
That was so nice.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I just want to I want to clarify for the people kind of how this all came together. This is now the third time that we have tried to get on a show together. The first 2 times we were sent home due to COVID.
That's true.
So it finally happened. 2 weeks left in the semester, so better late than never.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Men's soccer swept the field this past season with an overall record of 5-1 and were ranked first. Yes, you heard that right. First in the MAC tournament. With 2 wins already under their belt in the MAC tournament against Siena and Fairfield, Quinnipiac lost the MAC championship game. Since 2015, men's soccer has lost the championship game 3 times. Jacob, why do you think this is?
Well, you know, it's been tough. It's been a tough go for the Quinnipiac men's soccer team, and I really don't think you can blame them. They're not doing anything wrong, and in general, soccer is about putting yourself in a position to be the luckiest team on the field that day. And just unfortunately, the ball has not bounced the Quinnipiac men's soccer team's way. And just look at this game this past weekend against Monmouth. Julian Gomez, his goal, if we can get some B-roll of that shot up there. Julian Gomez, his game-winning goal was probably the most fluky goal I've seen. He just kind of found himself open near the back post and just was able to head the ball in. So when you look at it, Quinnipiac has been better in these elimination games than their opponents. No, they have not won them, but they are just absolutely dominating their opponents in these games. Quinnipiac has outshot their opponents 22-16 on shots on goal in elimination games since 2017. So they've been more dominant, just the ball hasn't bounced their way, and I really don't think you can say anything more than that.
So I've been lucky or not so lucky enough to witness both their 2018 championship loss and their recent 2021 loss this past week. As the 5th-year student I am, I get to experience all these lovely things now. And just from seeing those two, and even just thinking back to the other one that they had in Ryder back again in 2016, offenses seem to be their problem in these championship games. In 2016, they lost to Ryder 3-1, and then they lost to Ryder again in 2018, 1-0, and then they lost to Monmouth last week, 1-0. Now, am I going to throw all the blame on the offense and say that they're horrible and that's the biggest issue? No, but that's definitely a contributing factor. To say that it's just luck is kind of a cop-out answer, in my opinion, because there has to be some reason why this is happening. You have David Bercedo, you have Bragas, and you have Tomas Vakula, and there was one point where you had 8 different players all score a goal in their first 8 goals of the season. You can't have things like that happen, and then all of a sudden you can't get any goals in the actual championship game. Now, they definitely had opportunities and they had chances, and as you said, Monmouth kind of got that lucky shot in the championship game, but that championship game winning goal from Monmouth came in the last 4 or so minutes of the game when Quinnipiac had all of this other opportunity to try to be able to score.
Listen, I think Quinnipiac had clearly the best offense in the MAC all season.
I agree.
To say that they didn't have it for those 4 minutes in the last, because their offense was no worse than Monmouth's the first 86 minutes of that game. So I'm not going to blame it on them. They certainly had their chances. They just weren't able to get that lucky bounce. Like I said, Quinnipiac had the best offense in the MAC for all but 4 minutes of this season. Not really going to not really gonna blame these losses on their offense because they haven't been blowouts. They've been 1-goal games. You know, you had 1-0, 2-1 the last few years. So it's been close. The defense has kept them in it, and the offense just hasn't gotten that lucky bounce. I don't know. I can't really blame that on any one in particular.
Well, you did just say the offense hasn't gotten the lucky bounce, so.
Sure, but they've been putting themselves in position. Like I said, they've outshot the opponents. What was it, 22-16 in these elimination games? Well, you can't do anything more than that to put yourself in position to try and win these games. It just hasn't happened for them.
As the soccer season has come to an end, we are saying so long to a couple of seniors. With Eric DaCosta's roster pretty much staying the same next year, where do they need to get better to have a winning season next year? Liz?
This was tough because, as Hannah just said, they're not really losing anybody. So it's basically going to be a repeat of next year. It's game guys in the same positions, and they're going to have the added advantage of having new recruits come in. But at the same time, there has to be a reason for it, and I'm just going with mentality. There's a monkey on their back now of losing these championship games, and then that Iona lost in the semifinals 2 years ago, back in 2019 or whichever, yes, 2019. And it's kind of a mind over matter thing now where they have the attitude, but they need to be able to go into these big games and not have that doubt and that monkey on their shoulder saying, every time you get to a big game, you can't clutch and you can't win. Because saying that, where do they need to get better? They have to get better somewhere. Because otherwise, if they won the championship, then this wouldn't even be a question and we wouldn't have to talk about how they have to get better. Because they didn't win a championship. They lost it this year, they lost it in 2018.
They came 4 minutes away from winning a championship. They
came 4 minutes away from maybe having to go to overtime because it was 0-0.
Had they gotten that lucky bounce, like Julian Gomez, who found himself at the back of the net, yeah.
And did they get that lucky bounce, Jacob?
Of course they did not. But they were just as close as Monmouth was, and it was their day. It was the Hawks' day.
And Monmouth won. So
absolutely.
What are you going to say?
I'm not going to say that you need to change everything. You need to change your mentality. First of all, I don't think they have doubt in their mind. Jared Mazzola, leading into the game against Monmouth, he said there was no way he was going to let Monmouth score. He didn't think there was any way possible that Monmouth was going to score on him. Did they? Yes. Was it a lucky bounce? Yes. And for that entire game, I think he was right. This team has clearly the mentality, because they've been there. They've been in these games. They know.
And they've lost the games.
Sure. Because of, like I said, these lucky bounces, these end of the game things where it just kind of slips away from them. I don't think that necessitates a change in mindset or that you need more self-confidence or anything like that.
I never said self-confidence. You
said they're doubting themselves, and I think that's kind of.
I said they could be doubting themselves in the big games because they have lost 3 big games.
I'm just going to say change absolutely nothing. This team is only getting better. All of the sophomores, juniors who are going to be here going forward have showed that they're in this for the long haul. Allen, Shikshaidi, Bozic, Zakula, Weigand, Austin, Bursato. These are guys who are going to be here for the next few years and are just only getting better. Keep what you've got working. Look at that. Raj Austin has been unbelievable. David Bursato, just coming in as a transfer this year, was excellent as well. He's got a few more years as well. So keep what you've got. Don't change it. I mean, do you need to change your mentality? The mentality has gotten them there.
If you have lost 3 championships in the past 5 years, you can't do absolutely nothing.
I mean, I think it's pretty great that they've gotten to the finals. Yes, they haven't won, but when it's coming down to these lucky bounces, they've got to keep what's working for them, because clearly they have what it takes to finish number 1 in the league, and then steamroll through the playoffs, and then of course they're falling short, but. I just don't see anything that needs to really change, per se.
Okay.
All right, let's switch gears. The men's lacrosse team is currently on a 3-game winning streak, with key players like Dimitri George and Dylan Donnery peaking at the right time. What is the reason for this team's most recent success? Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, I think, at least at the beginning, the main issue for this team was just not having the time on the field together to get used to playing with young guys, new guys coming into the program. I think we've kind of seen it with every team on campus, particularly the ones who are now playing in the spring. They didn't have the usual fall that they normally do, and had to practice in small pods and couldn't like for the lacrosse team, couldn't work on their specific plays, their drills, work on the man advantage, and that's huge. You need everyone on the field to practice for when you do have everyone on the field when the games start. So everything's coming together now. They were 0-5 on the man advantage in their first game against St. Bonaventure. Mason Poulin, the head coach, he admitted that they need to get better with that, and they did. They were 6 for 20 since then. Coming into tonight's game, 30% is much better than 0%. So I think definitely everything is on the rise for this team, and it wasn't really their fault that they got off to kind of a rough start with that first game at St. Bonaventure, but you have to like what you've been seeing from them so far.
Well, I don't disagree with you, which is a good start. But I did take in a little bit of a different direction from what Hannah said when she mentioned Dimitri George. And I think he is a huge reason that they've been playing so well recently, because he's been absolutely dominant for the team in the face-off X. And face-offs is where it starts. If you can get the face-off and you can get the possession, you can get something going for your team. And he has been so unbelievably consistent. In their game against Siena and their 7-5 victory, he was 14 for 15 in the X, and he picked up a team best 11 in ground balls, and then he even scored a goal for himself just because he thought, I might as well take it all the way if I'm able to. And he's currently sitting third in the nation in face-off percentage with 75%, and he just won MAC Offensive Player of the Week. Just from watching him and how dominant he is and how he's getting the ball on the offensive side for Quinnipiac, that's giving them the 80 seconds that they need to be able to score, and that's definitely helped them recently. He was always very consistent, but he wasn't putting up as many great numbers as he is right now, so I think that definitely has played a part in it, and I think he's one of the main reasons, other than the Donnery and everything else.
I was going to say, I mean, why are we not talking about these guys? Dylan Donnery, Will Abbott, Stephen Germain, Nick DiMuccio. It's been the collective effort. I mean, sure, the face-off is where it starts, but Donnery is the guy who's putting the ball away. DiMuccio is the one who's keeping it out of the net. I think kind of attributing this to the entire squad rather than one person. Sure, it's nice to win face-offs. I like scoring goals, and the collective group, I think, has been really the main factor there in getting the job done for them recently.
Well, you just kind of changed your answer because you started with talking about how they've been able to play together and practice
sure,
together,
and then you went
finally form a cohesive unit. And then you decided to, after I give my answer,
attributed it to one person. So congrats to Dimitri George, big fan of Dimitri George, who's apparently the only player on this men's lacrosse team who's getting everything done for them.
You realize you went from them being able to practice together and form a cohesive unit, and then
Well,
as soon as I said my
points.
answer is when you all of a sudden decided to bring out the rest of your points.
I prepared for this tonight.
Sure you did. You just waited until I gave my answer. Okay.
Gotta have rebuttals. That's all part of it.
Men's lacrosse currently sits second in the MAC with Monmouth above them. Do you think they should be favorites in the MAC, Liz?
Yeah, I think so. They are sitting second right now, but at the end of the day, how they performed recently and compared to how everybody else in the MAC has been doing, I don't see why you wouldn't pick them to be the favorite. Now, their next game is Marist, which is the rematch of the 2018, No, 2019. I was correct. COVID has my brain confused. The 2019 MAC Championship rematch, but Marist has only played one game. They're 1-0 because COVID really messed up their schedule and got everything canceled. Monmouth is sitting in first, and they did have that loss to Monmouth. They lost by 2, but I feel like they also should defeat Detroit Mercy, which is their last game of the regular season. And if they can continue to play how they've played right now, I don't see why they can't make a big run and finally get over that last hump of being able to win a MAC championship. And if Marist is the biggest problem they have, I'm not too concerned about that because Marist has only played once, and Quinnipiac is how many games in now?
So clearly one of us did the correct preparation for this show. The Quinnipiac-Marist game just wrapped up, and they played, and Marist did win 14-9. So certainly not the best effort for the men's lacrosse team. Dylan Donnery was held in check, just one goal. So I'm feeling a little shaky now. Not going to lie, Marist is a very good team, like you said, beat them in the championship a couple of years ago, and I think they're going to be the ones standing in between Quinnipiac trying to get to the championship and getting a bid for the NCAA tournament. Between COVID, you never know, between a single elimination playoffs where anything could change at a moment's notice, I think at this point anointing anyone, let alone Quinnipiac, the favorite, when Marist just kind of took them to task tonight, I really can't say anything for sure.
I'm still not too concerned right now. Obviously, there's another week for Quinnipiac, there's another week for Marist, and then playoffs will happen, so we'll see what happens there, but I'm not too concerned.
All right, now it's time to get our analyst Bobcat of the Week. Jacob, who do you think excelled in their game this week?
Yeah, so originally I was told by the producers that I had to pick between Brog Austin and Dylan Donnery. Absolutely not. Let me tell you about Kaylee Sakota, the sophomore on the women's golf team from Cypress, California. Do you know who actually is from Cypress, California? Tiger Woods, I'll tell you that. Kaylee Sakota was playing like Tiger Woods this week. MAC Golfer of the Week, shot 4 under at Fairfield on Wednesday. It was actually the course record at Fairfield. It's been open since 1972. How about that? Second best score in program history to boot. Kaylee Sakota has been on fire. 3 eagles this year. That's a program record already. They're not even done. Averaging 2 over par on the season. So Kaylee Sakota, just a sophomore. I feel like we don't talk about golf enough. Foreshadowing. But yeah, Kaylee Sakota, my Bobcat of the week.
Yeah, and golf has always been so consistent too, which is why it's so great for her to be able to like get back in the headlines and really make up that record again. I did go with someone on the men's lacrosse team, as we talked about before. I went with Dylan Donnery after the massive week that he had for Quinnipiac. Now that does not include tonight's game because this was obviously the prep from the past week. In his game against Manhattan, he tied the game with 20 seconds left and then scored the winning goal in double overtime. He ended up finishing that whole game with 3 goals and 1 assist. He was named the MAC Co-Rookie of the Week for that performance. And on top of that, he scored 5 goals in QU's win against Canisius. And I was at that game and just watching him completely go through defenders like it was easy. He could have walked in and there would have been nothing done about it because he was just steamrolling, completely impossible. He has 12 goals in his first 6 games, and 8 of them came in the last 2. Obviously, as you mentioned, Marist did hold him, but when you're watching him dominate that much, he is the person that you have to kind of be able to stop if you want to be able to win games on your own.
You were at that game? I was at that game.
Were you at that game?
That's crazy.
How about that?
I wasn't at that game, but it's time to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Up next, we talk all about baseball. With 2 die-hard baseball fans, you don't want to miss this. We will be right back.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spotting on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job.
I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
It's time to talk baseball and more. With baseball season still in action for the next month, what is the silver lining of this team as they are 4-16 this year? Jacob, let's start with you.
I think I speak for Liz when I say that I am very excited for this segment, considering we've watched quite a few Quinnipiac baseball games.
We've been at quite a few Quinnipiac baseball games.
One or 2, at least. But no, I mean, I think you have to be impressed by the bats so far. The pitching has been very up and down, more down than up, but the bats have been very consistent throughout the season. Currently 3rd in the MAC in hitting. Can't really argue with that. And more so, I've been impressed with the guys who have turned it around from 2020. Andre Marrero, Colton Bender, they really struggled. In 2020, it was a shortened season, didn't really have that chance to get off on the right foot. But Andre Marrero currently slashing 344, 439, 641. That's an OPS over 1,000. Also 5 home runs is up there near the conference leaders. Colton Bender also leading all MAC catchers in home runs and RBIs. So he's been fantastic. Lutz, Volgamore, Cone, the entire team has really just come through when they need it. I think if you're looking at something that the bats need to improve on, it's kind of being consistent throughout a game. A lot of times their offense comes maybe in 1 or 2 innings in a game, and it doesn't really help them when they're behind, maybe in the bottom of the 9th or something like that. So, but overall, the bats have been fantastic. Really nothing to complain about from them there.
Yeah, we had that one game where they were down the entire game and then exploded with 6 hits. Still couldn't come out with the win, but then you're wondering, where was that the first 7 innings of that game? I definitely agree with you. I was hoping you were going to mention Volgamore and the other grad students that did come back for that extra year and were able to do stuff. What I went with was 2 specific individuals, and it was the 2 sophomore pitchers, Kevin Sider and Brandon Garcia. And the reason I went with them was because it was so nice to see their evolution from that strange freshman year where they only had a couple starts to now being much better as their sophomore seasons are now in full swing. Back in their freshman years, first years, Sider had a 9.53 ERA in 5 innings, but again, 5 innings pitched, short season. I'm not really going to be looking at those numbers too much because they don't really matter right now. But coming into this season, they've been taking over the starting pitcher roles that are no longer here. Carrera hasn't been pitching recently. Tyler Poulin and Chris Enns are gone. Nicolosi was here last year for the shortened season, but now he is gone as well. And this season, Sider's pitched 16.2 innings. He has a 4.32 ERA, and he pretty much dominated in his start against one of the doubleheaders against Siena. They play 4 on a weekend. Sometimes you just lose track of which one is which, but he had a very good performance in that game. And then Garcia's pitched 23 innings, and he has a 3.09 ERA. And just seeing their evolution from that strange season, their freshman years, to now, I think they have been relatively consistent in terms of just being able to get through innings. Yes, they have mishaps here and there, but every pitcher does. Like, their bullpen does. Like, even as you said, sometimes the bats aren't consistent the whole game. So I think the 2 of them are definitely big bright spots.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, to an extent, I feel like I just need to see more from them. It's 7 game starts combined between the 2 of them. Only 4 from Brandon Garcia, 3 from Kevin Sider. It's been great so far. Still a lot of season left, and you hope for the best. But maybe a little more time from them.
As we look back from season to season, player to player, and see the progression or lack thereof throughout the years at Quinnipiac, if you could pick one alum to return to the baseball team from the 2019 roster that went to the NCAA tournament, who would it be and why? Liz, let's start with you.
So already seeing how much Jacob talks about the bullpen and so many other aspects, not just here, but he always talks about the bullpen. I have a feeling I already knew who he was going to talk about, so I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction. I did mention the starting pitching, so I'm going to go with Tyler Poulin. Tyler Poulin was such a force for Quinnipiac when he was here, and he was drafted to the MLB, which shows he's a pretty good baseball player, and you have to agree with that. But the biggest thing for Poulin was he was so strong when he transferred here his junior year. He played in 16 games with 15 starts, and he did make a relief appearance in the MAC tournament. But his senior year is what I want to focus on. He started in 15 games. He had a 3.83 ERA, which is very good considering the other pitchers that they had on that time. Opponents only hit .251 against him, and he is currently, and still is, tied for 6th in QU D1 history with 168 strikeouts. I think he is someone that could have definitely helped this team this year, especially with the 4 games in a weekend with doubleheaders, 2 days a week. I think it would have been better for them to have a consistent starting pitcher because you can't rely on Sider and Garcia all the time. Like we've seen Blake DeCar start a little bit, and he's been kind of back and forth. But having someone that could be relatively consistent in that role, I think Poulin's a great fit for that.
So this team is 4-16.
Correct.
Plenty has gone wrong this season.
Sure.
You just told me the silver lining is the starting pitching, and we're bringing back the second best starter from the 2019 team. Give me Chris Enns if you actually need a starting pitcher. Give me the one with the lower ERA, more strikeouts per 9 innings, fewer walks per 9 innings, fewer home runs allowed per 9 innings. Give me Chris Enns, who actually pitched the game of his life against ECU while Tyler Poulin gave up 6 runs against Campbell. No disrespect to Tyler Poulin at all. If you need a starting pitcher, give me Chris Enns. But the guy I'd like to bring back is Andrew Workman, as you alluded to, because the bullpen has not been good. A 9.98 ERA so far.
And hey, I don't disagree with you.
Give me the guy who was the MAC reliever of the year. And I think the wrinkle is that Workman had a very low ERA. It's even lower when you just look at the MAC opponents that he faced, because if he was pitching this year, he wouldn't be facing those out-of-conference teams. He would just be pitching in the MAC. How about an 0.67 ERA for Andrew Workman in 12 MAC appearances? So be able to take the pressure off Colin Donnelly, where he doesn't have to pitch bulk innings out of the bullpen and close games. I think Andrew Workman would do a lot.
Pitching
for this
like 50 innings every weekend for Colin
Yeah.
Donnelly.
At the beginning of the year, we didn't know when or if sports would start, but we've been lucky enough to see soccer, basketball, hockey, baseball, and so much more this year. If you could break down the top and most underrated sport this year, who would they be and why? Jacob?
Yeah, I think this is kind of the subject that we said we can't really argue about, because these are, teams that have gone through so much this year, and just the fact that they are on the field playing, competing, winning games is something to be proud of. I'm going to go with men's soccer, even though the season didn't end the way they did. But just to kind of steamroll through the MAC, lead the league in scoring, and then make it to the finals where they did lose, as we talked about earlier. I'm gonna give my team of the fall spring to men's soccer.
I'm going to give mine to women's tennis, because women's tennis is just completely dominant all the time. They won the MAC regular season title on Sunday for the 7th time since joining the conference. That is 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 2020. Obviously, with COVID, 2019s didn't really match up. And they're 49-0 since 2013, which is insanity. I don't disagree with you. I went with women's tennis, but yeah.
All right, we're going to talk about our underrated teams real quick. I just want to point out to the golf team, the women's golf team. We talked about Kaylee Sakota earlier. Overall, this team has been dominant. First place finish at Hartford, they did that twice. Second place finish at Hartford, they did that twice. They beat Fairfield in a head-to-head, and they also beat Fairfield and St. John's in a tri-meet. We talked about Sakota, Elena Ibarra, Laine Peralta, Darby Lillibridge. They're playing excellent as well. Their MAC tournament gets going in Orlando this weekend. I think if they end up winning that, I would like to move them into my top team of the fall spring, but we're just going to have to wait and see
I would too.
How that happens.
My underrated team is going to be women's lacrosse, just because they had a very mediocre season, but they're 5-5 now, and they haven't been over 500 since 2012. So that's got to be good for something, right?
It's time to take our final break of the night, but don't go anywhere as we talk about QBSN's Game of the Week and have some final roars. We'll be right back.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie. Nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here.
Wait.
What?
I can't drive.
Why?
My.
Oh.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Sadly, our time has come to an end, so you know what that means. Final roars are up. Jacob, you start.
5 months to this day, I sat in this seat for my first breakdown appearance of the year. Things were a little different then, like there was an actual desk in front of me, but there was something even bigger missing. Here at Q30 Sports, our task in the fall was to cover sports that simply did not exist. I said in my final roar 5 months ago that we as journalists had two choices: put down the pen and paper or make the most of the hand we were dealt. I'm overjoyed to report that we did the latter, and I'm beyond proud of the work we did this semester, and in no small part due to the hard work of our senior class. Ryan Flaherty killed the production of this show all year long. Stephen Pappas and Tom Krosnowski helped orchestrate, in my opinion, the best college hockey coverage in the entire country. Jonathan Banks, Katie O'Keefe, Kevin Higgins, Will Fowler, all of you could have flexed your senioritis and taken the year off, but you didn't, and you were exceptional. All right, get the B-roll off. Get me back on camera. Last but not least, this one next to me, and what can I say? Liz Flynn is my best friend and my rock, and getting one last ride with you this year was the thrill of a lifetime. Just know that this is not a goodbye, but a see you soon. To all of you at home, thank you for watching all year long and keeping up with all of our content on social media. We do this for you. Enjoy the summer, stay safe, and we'll see you in August.
If there's one thing 2020 has taught me, it's to live your life to the fullest, and that's exactly what I did this year at Q30. You have to look at the past year and the world in general with your glass half full. It's been hard to do that this year, but next time you see that empty glass, look at it half full. And next time it rains, spot that rainbow. And next time you're in New York City, look for those stars. This year I've made a new family, my Q30 family, especially the producers I worked with to put out Bobcat Breakdown every Tuesday. I'm gonna shout my team out real quick. Eric Kerr, Heather Owen, Jack Main, and two seniors we will all miss so much, Liz Flynn and Ryan Flaherty. Thank you for making me see the stars when we were editing for hours upon hours in the wedge, when every computer crashed on us, when some tears were shed over the chaotic madness of the day, when we wanted to try something new and said bye to the desk, when Jack still to this day calls me Heather and Heather Hannah, and so much more. In the end, we all got what we hoped for at the beginning of the year. We produced 17 shows plus one more next week, made new friends, and of course, the return of sports in December 2020 made us all so happy. Next year, I hope to be back on the desk with no mask and see all you sports fans packing the stands of the Bobcat games.
On March 5th, 2020, I left Quinnipiac for spring break and never came back. I finished off my senior year in quarantine, graduated from my couch, and missed experiencing all my lasts with the people I spent the last 4 years with. But my story clearly didn't end there, as I made a surprise return for another year to pursue my master's. As thrilled as I am to be getting another degree, I'm also so happy I was able to return to student media for one last time. And tonight, I want to take the time to say what I couldn't say last year, and that's goodbye. Bobcat Breakdown is where it all started. My first on-air appearance was a women's hockey touchscreen segment, and the TV froze halfway through. I told myself I would never go on air again, but eventually I got over it. This year, I was lucky enough to be on the producing staff, where I met amazing people and contributed to the creation of this show every week. I'm definitely going to miss those busy Tuesdays in the wedge putting everything together. To my student media members, both past and present, thank you. Thank you for giving me a place to learn and grow and being my home away from home for all these years. To name a few, Will Fowler, Steve Pappas, Kevin Higgins, Joe Lagrippo, you have all changed my life in the best way, and I'm so grateful for every single one of you. And I can't go without shouting out my best friend next to me, who's one of the reasons I'm even here today. Jacob, if there's one person that I had to debate with for the last time, I am so glad that it's you. No matter what's next for me, I will proudly wear these logos wherever I go and remember where it all started. Being part of this was truly one of my greatest joys. As I sign off for the final time, it's only fitting I end with the phrase that I've become known for over these past 5 years. It is, it was, and it will always be a great day to be a Bobcat. Thank you for everything.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Be sure to check us out on social media at Q30 Sports and at QBSN.com, on our website at Q30TV.com and the QBSN app. Make sure you catch our final show next week, same time, same place. For everyone behind the scenes, to the best producing staff in the business, and our amazing analysts, I'm Hannah Smith. Have a great night.